Okay, so we're going to be talking about rational and irrational numbers today. We're going to be working with some of them and doing all that fun stuff and all that good stuff. But if you were not here yesterday to take your class, everybody was here yesterday. Everybody was here yesterday, so everybody got the test taken, so we're not worried about that. This is still got a couple of your one of those where you took it resource. Need to do that. But if you don't have all the homework, I'm still waiting on a couple of homeworks from people. Still waiting on a couple of homework fixes from people. So all of that. So if you don't have all that done, get that done ASAP. Okay? Please get that done ASAP. That's okay. Okay. All right. All right. So, and then that, I 100% apologize. I did not get that graded last night. I went down and watched a former athlete of mine play volleyball at UWSP last night. So that was my focus last night. Hopefully I'll get him out tonight, but we'll see. Okay. All right. So we are in the B1 notes, which are the top of that packet then. And so let's do this, okay? So a rational number is a number that can be written as a, and now again, I am just your teacher. Don't get mad at me when I write this next word, okay? I know that for some of you, this next word makes you mad, makes you like get a little anxious, makes you get a little angry inside, okay? But it's not that bad of a word, okay? It can be written as a fraction, okay? So a rational number is any number that can be written as a fraction or a decimal. Good job, buddy. Because we can always write decimals as fractions too. Now, where the numerator, remember the numerator is the top number in our fraction, and the denominator, that's our bottom number in the fraction, those are both real numbers. Those are both going to be real numbers. Okay. With me? Give me an example of a number that can be written as a fraction, or even what? Give me an example of a fraction. Can't be wrong in this one. 1/2 is a rational number. Yeah. 1/2 is a rational number because it's written as a fraction. Or we could write it as 0.5. Same thing, still a rational number. 9/16. Okay, that's another one. What about 5? Actually, what about -5? Is -5 a rational number? Why not? Because it's negative? What were you going to say? Okay, let's talk regular 5. Okay, before we go to -5, let's talk regular 5. Is 5 rational? Well, with a fraction b, that's the same as 5. Or give me one example of a fraction that's equal to 5. Nope. What? 5/5? That's equal to 1. Twenty-fifths is equal to 4. 25/5 is equal to 5. Right? Because 25 divided. I thought you said 20/5. Okay. Could we write this as 5 over 1. Can't we? No, the numerator doesn't have to be bigger than the denominator. Because here was an example of a rational number where the numerator was smaller than the denominator. Yeah. This is legal. This is 100% legal, which means that this is 100% legal. Okay? Or, if we wanted to, Jesse, what did you say, 25? I could write it like that. That's still equal to 5. Still makes it rational. Or negative 5, I should say. So we can write lots and lots and lots of numbers as rational. So that's a rational number. What's an irrational number then? If a rational number can be written as a fraction, what's an irrational number? No, 0 can be written as a fraction. 0 over 2, 0 over 1, 0 over any number. Pi is not rational. Correct. Pi is an example of a non-rational number. So what's the definition of an irrational number then? What do you got? Numbers that aren't rational. Yeah, exactly. An irrational number is a number that is not rational. So if a rational number can be written as a fraction, we can't write an irrational number as a fraction. Okay? Another good example of one would be a non-perfect square radical. Okay? The square root of 7. The square root of 3. Okay? All of those are not rational because we can't write them as fractions. Okay? Good to go on that. Look, all right, let's get into some of this now. Okay? Okay? So what we're going to be doing a lot today and a lot in this unit is we are going to be rounding to a specific place value. Okay? So these are all of the place values. Now I'm going to have you add something in here under units. Sometimes we might call that the ones. Okay? So you can add that. What? No, just in this column. Just in that column, sometimes the units are called the ones, or sometimes we refer to them as whole numbers. Okay? So add those two into that column in your notes. Okay? That those are the ones or the whole numbers there too. Okay? Okay? Now, everything when we're rounding revolves around where that decimal point is. Okay? That's the kicker. That's why in your notes we put a big old box around decimal. Okay? That's where the decimal point goes. Okay? Up here we highlighted it. That's where the decimal point is. Okay? So when we get to, we got to come up with now some rules for rounding. Okay? So the first thing that you have to do is you have to decide which is the last digit to keep, okay? Meaning that's what you're going to round to. It's going to tell you in the problem you need to round to something. So for instance, example number 1 says, oh, yeah, okay, this is example number 1. Round to the 100th. Okay? So what I like to do is I like to put an arrow pointing at that place value. Okay? So if I am going to say the 100th, I am going to arrow that place value. So the hundredths is 2 to the right of the decimal point. Okay? Which digit, what number is in the 2 to the right of the decimal point spot in this example? 3. So I'm going to put an arrow on top of 3. That is what I am going to be rounding to. Okay? Then what I do is I look. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Jumping. Then I look. Oops, I want the screen. Oh, no. Then I look to the right one spot. So now I'm looking at that next number. Okay? If that number is 0, 1, 2, 3, just let me teach. Okay? All right? I know you know this. You gotta let me do my job. Okay? Or 4, you're going to keep that blue arrowed one, the one you're rounding to, be the same. Okay? You're rounding down. You're just basically going to get rid of everything after that digit. Okay? If that digit is 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, then you're going to go up by 1 on the one that you're rounding to. With me? Okay? So I'm rounding to the hundredth, so that's 2 spots to the right of my decimal point. I look at the next number. The next number is 4. Is that a keep the same or go up by 1? Keep the same. So this rounded would be 4.13, and that would be what it is rounded to the hundredths. Okay? Now, as you get better and better and better at this, you're not going to need to draw these arrows anymore. Okay? But until you get better and better and better, okay, those arrows help. Okay? With me? So in number 2, then, I don't think it's down here. No, there it is. In number 2, it says round again to the hundredth. Okay, well, the hundredth is still 2 spots to the right of our decimal point. So 1, 2, so that's the 7. Right? Then I look to the next digit, which is 5. Is that a keep the same or up by 1? Up by 1, right? Okay. So then this one, rounded to the hundredths, would be 10.38. Round up. 0 through 4, we keep the same. 5 through 9, we round up. Okay? You now do 3 and 4 down there at the bottom. 3 and 4, rounding to the tenths and rounding to the whole number. How many places to the right of our decimal point is the tenths? 1 place to the right, okay? Which means I look to the next one. Is that a keep the same or up by 1? It's an up by 1, so this would round to 0.2. round to the whole number. Whole number is the one to the left of the decimal point. Still look to the number that's immediately to the right of that. Is that a stay the same, or is that a round up? That's a stay the same, so this one would round to just 12. Good to go? Yeah. Love it. Okay? So, now, we're going to use calculators, this unit, to approximate square roots. Okay? And so we're going to find square roots of rational numbers and all that fun stuff. Okay? The square, it depends on which kind of calculator you have. Now, most people have the TI 30s. Okay? That's the most common calculator that's out there. Okay? We have some, if you need them. We don't really 100% need them today, but we have some. Other people have Casios, some people have other different ones, other different TIs, etc., etc., etc. You need to find out where your calculator is and then how to use it. Okay? If you have questions about that, during work time, come ask me at any point in time. Okay? Now, if you don't have a calculator yet, this calculator, I think at Walmart is $8. Okay? So it's something that you need. In class, I will tell you before we start talking about that, if you're sitting at home and you don't have a calculator tonight for like your homework, you can always Google online calculator on your Chromebook. Okay? And it literally popped. I did it the other day. I Googled online calculator, and it popped up. It didn't even take me to another website. I mean, I could go to another website. There's onlinecalculator.com, but Google has one right in there that you can just use. Okay? We will not be allowing you to use your phone as a calculator in class. Your phone at home will also work. Okay? When you're, for most people, when you have your phone, your smartphone vertically, it just has the basic calculator. When you turn it to the side, then it becomes the scientific. But it is your job to figure out how to use a calculator in here because you won't be able to use your phone as the calculator. Okay? Right? Now, on different calculators, there are different ways to find the square root. Okay? On these, it's a second and then the x squared key. Okay? On other people's, there's a whole, like you have a square root key on yours. Okay? I'm guessing you have a whole square root. Okay. Anybody else need help finding their square root key? Okay? Alright? So that's, you gotta hit second, then that square root key, then the number that we're typing in for that one. Okay? So we want to round the square root of 275. So those of you that have your calculator, if you wanted to work along with me and say the square root of 275, on my calculator, I get the square root of 275 is 16.5831239.5. So that's what the square root of 275 is. Wanted to make sure you get it. Okay, so hit that key. Remember the one that pointed up, you hit the square root key. Yep. Oh, okay, all right. So yours is in now it's square root 275. There it is. Yeah. It was just in math type. Okay. We want to round that to the whole number. Yeah, okay. Here's a new thing. These Casios do that all the time. Set up input, output. right now. It's paperwork. Okay. So what would we round to? What digit, what number would we round to? What's the number that I'm looking at? The whole number? Debbie? Nope. Nope, I want to round to I'm rounding to that one, right? So I'm rounding to the 6. Okay? So which number am I looking at? I'm looking at the 5. Yep, so I'm looking at the 5. Is that an up or a stay? That's an up, so this would round to be 17. Did you get it? Did you get it? Okay. Square root 792. On my calculator, I get 28.142494556. Our place value is hundredths. How many spots to the right of the decimal point is that? That's 2 spots to the right. So I'm rounding to this one here, which means I look here, stay or up. That's a stay, so this would be 28.14. Huh? That's all that I put on this slide. Yeah, oh, they were down there. Oh, they were down there the whole time. Like, okay? Alright? So here's 2 bigger ones. I get those. Okay? Alright? So now let's round these to what we need to round them to. Ooh, I like this first one. Okay? So tenths. How many spots to the right of my decimal point am I looking? 1, which means, so I'm rounding there, which means I'm looking there. Up or stay? Up, right? But if I go up by 1 on 9, that would make it, so 9 would go up to what? 9 would go up to go to 10, but I can't write 86.10. Okay? So if this one goes up to 0, because we're kind of restarting that, we're looking 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then we go back to 0. So if we reset that, because this needs to go up, then this goes to 0, and then this one would go up 1 to 87.0. That's that tricky one when 9 is involved. If we're going up, if 9's got to go up, then the digit in front of it has to go up by 1, and the 9 goes to 0. Okay? Hundredths is 2. So I'm looking at that first 9, which means I look 1 after it. Is that a stay or is that a go? What do you got, Liza? Is it a stay or a go? Everybody else is saying stay. Because we're rounding to the hundredth, so we're rounding to this one. So we look here. Is that a stay or is that a go? That's a stay. Yeah, that's a stay. 73. Whoop. Oh no. 73.2. No. Okay. Is there one more? There on yours there is, but yeah. We'll skip it. We're doing so good today. Okay? Okay? So we've got an assignment today. This one will be due tomorrow. You will need a calculator for this. If you don't have a calculator with you, And just so you know, kind of what we're going to do in class also is that if you need a calculator and you don't have one, you can borrow one of ours, but you got to bring us something in collateral, phone or an ID or a debit card or something like that. Okay, you got to bring us something so that we know who took our calculator up, so we don't lose any calculators. Okay. Today, though, if you need to use your Chromebook as a calculator, I would use that as opposed to using your phone as a calculator.